Cashflow Diary Podcast, episode 545.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cashflow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you are here today because when it comes down to it, you and we're out there building our business. We are doing our best. Oftentimes, it can feel like we're, swimming upstream. No matter what it is, when you first start, you have that idea. It's in the back of your head, that inspiration. And then you start, you move, you start going a particular direction. And then often you encounter at least one obstacle. Sometimes the obstacle is, what do you mean I have to do bookkeeping? And sometimes the obstacle is, I got to hire people now. And sometimes the obstacle is how do I actually sell my product? At the end of the day, today's guest would say, everybody fights. Now, some of you may already know exactly who I am talking about at this particular moment, because the moment I said everybody fights, you were like, oh, I know. He's talking to George Foreman III. Yes. Now, here's the thing. I'm excited to hear the journey, and I hope you are too, because here's what I know. Anyone who is growing up around individuals who are of notoriety, anyone who is willing to literally get punched in the face as a boxer, anyone who's a trainer, coach, anyone who does these things has a story. And I'm loving the name of the company, Everybody Fights. So here's what you're going to do. I know you're walking the dog, maybe doing some dishes. Yell at the kids real quick, tell them to be quiet, because it's now time to listen, love, and learn from George Foreman III. Hey, George, how you doing?
Doing great, man. Pleasure to be with you.
I am glad that you are here. And I've got, because this is the first time that you're here, I have to ask you the same question I tend to ask everybody else. And I think your answer is going to be unique. So I'm kind of excited to do it. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I tend to look at today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes. For example, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, etc. Because I think entrepreneurs and superheroes have a ton of things in common. For example, as an entrepreneur, I can occasionally envision myself running around town, maybe with a cape and tights, saving our customers one sale at a time. Also, though, as a superhero, an entrepreneur has a beginning. Like I said, Spider-Man. There was a time where he was just a kid, going to school, doing his thing, and then one day he gets bit by a spider, discovers he's got a superhuman ability, and then has to decide, do I use this power for good or for evil? So my question to you is as follows. Before your business, before your professional boxing career, but before, everything that everyone knows you for today, what we want to know is, who is George Foreman III?
He was really shy, really quiet. When he was 6, one of his cousins told him, you know what? Did you know that you can read too much?
Hmm?
He remembers getting his first B and he cried.
Interesting. Did you say first B?
Yeah, first B. It was a B+.
Okay. When was that?
I was 7 years old.
Well,
then I didn't get another one. Didn't get another one until I was 17.
Okay. All right. So getting a B for you was a traumatic event. Got it. And what I'm now I've got to ask what class was that in?
Oh my gosh. You know what? It must have been math. Must
Okay.
have been math because math didn't never, I wasn't a mathematician. It didn't make sense to me.
Mm,
It's one of the most bizarre things to me is how people can major in math, because I'm like, if you get it that much, how can you understand it that much to say, I want to major in it? And if you get it that much, um, what is it to learn, but anyway, that was always a tough one for me. I had to work my hardest at math
mm.
to really understand it. So then eventually in college, I started just copying the entire book. And that's what made it click.
Got it. I like it. Okay, so from 7 to 17, nothing but A's, and then we got another B. That's good. I mean, that's a good track record. It's not so bad. So,
and the teachers figured out I didn't know how to do it. I was just copying everything word for word. You had to actually trigonometry. You actually had to think, So.
You're like, oh, wait, I wasn't supposed to write down the question too? I did everything. I put down the directions. Yeah, no, totally get that. I understood. Now, side note, by the way, I was one of those math major guys. Moving on, you've done a number of things, and you're in the process of building the brand. What I'm curious to hear, Bo, because when we've talked to other professional athletes, et cetera, from other disciplines, usually football and basketball for sure, there's always this transition. There's always this inspiration. There's this point at which you go, okay, you know what? Yeah, I can do this. Yeah, I can do what I do, but I want to go do this other thing. What I would love to hear is what would inspire you, especially at the time when your career, you were undefeated, to then go, let's go take a different type of risk completely. Where did that come from?
You mean the type of risk, the boxing, or?
Well, I don't actually necessarily see boxing for you as a risk because you were around. I mean, that was like, the environment. But the fact the matter is when you go to do something outside of that, that's to me would be perceived, I think, as the bigger risk.
With Everybody Fights?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, my bad. The risk, and I want to make sure I understand the question right, but the real risk is, and I'm going to answer your question, but to me, the real risk is, life passes us by and it doesn't come back. You never get it back every minute and every hour and every moment to spend with people that you want to be around. It comes and it goes and it's gone. And the real risk is spending those times doing things that you're going to look back on your last moments. If you have the ability, the luxury of being able to reflect in your last moments, the risk is looking back and saying, you know what, I could have spent that time differently or better. Now having the perspective I have right here, looking at my family, my friends, and reflecting on the impact I had on this world and the moments I had, maybe I could have spent that time better, It's just impossible to buy it back. It's just impossible, no matter how much money you have. So I think that has always been the risk to me. In terms of the more traditional sense of the term, so that knowing that, to me, that type of risk always made the decisions easy for me. But more in the traditional sense of the term, kind of like thinking through at which point I was able to kind of rationalize, taking the financial risk, the giving up your career type of risk, walking away from your friendships, inciting your family to not speak to you.
Right.
I was been my dad's manager for a long time, done pretty well with that, gained a lot of weight, got into boxing to lose the weight around 25, launched a successful boxing career because I'm crazy. And kind of like the guy that says he's going to go for a hike on the weekend. It's like, you know what, maybe I'll climb Everest.
You're right.
And then it was over and I was like, what am I doing? But I had some success and I did love the sport. I love competing. And it was fun, there's maybe you could make some money, that some of these guys make money. But, I noticed right away that before I would train, and I actually owe a little bit of this to my dad. I hate to give him credit, but I do. When he agreed to train me, he said, if I'm going to train you, you have to train other people. and he had shut down our gym because of unsupervised sparring, the boxing component of our gym, which we'd had for like 30 years of a nonprofit. He said, I want you to bring the boxing program back. You're the only one that can teach it. And I'm like, Dad, I don't know anything about boxing. He said, that's why I want you to be the only one teaching it. You can only teach them what I taught you the day before. And so I ended up growing a pretty successful USA amateur boxing team. And I would train them prior to 5 o'clock when my dad would come train me. And then after 6:30, I would train them again. And I noticed the difference. Like, I did love training as a boxer because of because I wanted to be good at it. But between 5 and 6:30 at night, I couldn't wait for that to be over. I could not wait. I was like, man, is he gonna kill me today? And my dad. But then prior to that, and then after that, when I'm training the young men and the young women, it's a lot of them just to get in shape and shut down some of their vices. But I couldn't. You couldn't talk me out. You'd have to talk me into leaving. Talk me out of the gym. Yeah. Like, Monk, it's time to train. Put it down. Or, Monk, it's 9:30 p.m. You got to go home and get some rest. Like, you can't keep doing this every day. I loved it, and I wasn't getting paid anything. I was losing money doing it, to be honest. So, buying equipment, taking kids on trips and tournaments and all that. And so finally I remember one night distinctly, I was watching an interview very much like this. Dave Chappelle was talking to this guy. He always has a black background. He was on TV, and he has a beard. He's been around for a long time. I forget his name. And he's recounting the moment when he got his father to support his decision to become a comedian. And I believe he comes from a pretty educated family, if I know this right, and I remember it right. And long story short, the inflection point was he was arguing, and his dad was like, the odds of you being successful as a comedian are so slim. This is why I remember it, at least. You have to go back and watch it. And he told his dad, because he's like, you want to be a big star. Like, most comedians are not big stars. It's entertainment. He said, well, Dad, if I can make a teacher's salary doing comedy, wouldn't that be a success? And I just had a moment, man. And so, wow. And I thought at the time a teacher's salary was $35,000 a year. In some places it is, but most places teachers are making like 75 to 80K with benefits, and which is better than I made it as an entrepreneur. Years, by the way, a lot better.
If you're like, that's a pay raise, I'll take it.
Yeah, benefits and time off. But I had no idea. I thought $35,000 a month. That stuck in my head from a kid. So I said, if I could teach boxing and make enough to have a home and food, wouldn't that be a success? And so I was thinking about taking a break from the sport, and I was visiting a friend in Boston, and we got to talking, and I was still fully, taking a break, but still fully like a professional boxer. And one of my best friends, we had left the gym, and he was like, you need to open a boxing gym. He just said it. And I was like, I gave him this weird look, and he's like, why are you looking at me like that? And I said, And there's more to it. But that moment I decided I was going to do it. And I was just going to stop what I'm doing and open the gym. And then I had to figure out the business plan and so on and so forth.
Well, and that's exactly the type of stuff.
That's where I got the nerve. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but that's the type of stuff that I like, because you and I are very similar in a lot of what you said in terms of why you do what you do. Because otherwise you suffocate. That, for lack of a better way of putting it, is just you don't feel like you're alive. At least I don't. It's like, this is what I would do, and I would do it for free. And indeed, you did, because that's where you came alive. And it makes 100% sense. Now, the interesting thing that I'm curious is, oftentimes when you're going out there to build a business, and because I get this question a lot as someone who trains entrepreneurs, they always get hung up on the name of the company. And I love the name of your company, and definitely that intro video you got on the website there is really, really great. Everybody should go watch it. I'm curious to know the story there. There's got to be a story there.
Yeah. So I hate this was, kind of part of it's corny, but with me and my friend, so when I decided that I was going to open a gym, I wrote this business plan in 7 days and found my break even. And and figured there was a market. And
Whoa! That was math, man. You did math.
well, at that point, I scored an A in business calculus, so I figured out enough to do back of end business plan math.
Got it. That's good.
That's another story.
Good.
They kicked me out of that class. By the way, they kicked me out of that class the first week, and I worked my way back in. But
of course you did.
That's another story. But anyway, so I did some quick back of hand, did some research, did like a lot of reconnaissance, like literally putting on my boots and running around the city into every gym, and so you know what, I'm staying. And I had a carry-on suitcase. I never left, and got on my best friend's couch for him. And I was like, okay, I'm staying. He's like, I didn't say you could stay here, but he let me hang there until I found a roommate, like a proper roommate that I could pay. And so anyway, we're sitting around, and every morning we'd have coffee, and we'd just come up with these ideas. I think this may have been in the evening, but we were just chatting, and we're like, you know what? You should call it Fight Club. I was like, yeah, Fight Club. Of course, right?
Right.
But then it just rolls off his tongue. He goes, where everybody fights. And I'm pretty sure it was him. It could have been me, but in my brain, I remember it as him. And he said, where everybody fights. And I said, that's it. Fight Club, where everybody fights. And then we went on and tried to buy a bunch of domain names. Yeah. We all do this as entrepreneurs. We probably bought 300 domain names.
Right.
But then we got everybodyfights.com, right? And we held on to it. But then to make this quick, I'm going to speak fast. I started looking for leases, in Class A office spaces, office buildings, and I got the resounding response was, and I was trying to raise money, is for my investors, women are not going to fight. Women don't fight. Women don't box. So who's your client? And then to the landlords who also would have to invest in my build out and also give up, 10 to 15 years lease. They could be leasing it to someone else and all that. They're like, we don't want the word fight in any of our tenants' name.
Oh,
that wow. we'll never lease to anybody with the word fight or boxing, believe it or not. That's what I was getting. So this went on for a while. And finally I said, okay, well, I'm just going to call it The Club by George Foreman III. Because I was like, at least if someone looks up my name, they're going to see boxing pop up, my dad and myself.
Right.
And I can get past the landlord. And then I was like, where everybody fights in the background, but I never actually put it as part of the brand. But once I opened, it said The Club by George Foreman III, but the URL was EverybodyFights.com. So I snuck it in. And I just always wanted my brand to be something, or our brand, really, I hate to say to be something that it's like aspirational. It says something about who you are, because it was very much about why I was doing this, not what I was doing. And then we looked up, and after about 18 months, I started to hear people saying like, oh, I go to the Everybody Fights Club or the Fight Club and different things like that. And then I started to certify trainers to teach our kind of method, if you will, and started to create leaders within the company. And I felt this weird narrative developing where people would have to say, oh yeah, I'm a George Foreman III certified trainer. Yeah. I'm the head of operations at the Club by George Foreman III. Hi, my name is David Smith, And I just didn't feel right. And I said, you know what? That doesn't sound like a team. And I want people to be able to be proud of what they're a part of. So I said, you know what? I'm already into my Series A, I think. I already had investors. But I said, you know what? We're going to switch this. We're going to call it Everybody Fights. And it was weird. And my best friend at that point became my business partner. And he wasn't sure it was the right move, but to me and him, we've been best friends for a long time. It felt right. It was just like, you're in so deep right now. Like, how do you just change the name of the company and take off a brand that has recognition in Japan and slap on Everybody Fights? But we felt it was the right move. And we sucked it up and did it. And it was I think it might be one of the brands, I don't know brands that have that many syllables. So there's just a lot of reasons it was the wrong move if you just put it on paper. But in hindsight, to say, I'm an investor in Everybody Fights. I work at the front desk at Everybody Fights.
Right.
I'm a GM at Everybody Fights. I'm a VP of Ops. I'm a Everybody Fights certified trainer. I'm an Everybody Fights member. I think it just sends the right message. Okay, I'm done talking.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I get it 100%. And it's not uncommon for the names to come up in organic, crazy, just not even that like with special ways, because that's how Cashflow Diary became Cashflow Diary too. Is a very
You know
simple
what?
story. So.
Can I say something really quickly about that?
Sure.
Like one of the things I've learned, I'm sorry, this comes up a lot when I talk with other entrepreneurs and myself. It's like at the end of the day, yes, you get to pick your brand. You do. So think about it. Have fun. It's part of, it's part of the journey. But at the end of the day, a brand is what you make of it, And I could talk all about like Apple and Google and Microsoft and, these Zip this and that, like all these like brands that like when you look at it on paper, it doesn't say anything about what they do. But like Google is now a verb.
Right.
I could say that, right? But the point is, it is what you make of it. There's some outstanding brands, but the company didn't execute. The customer service was poor. The culture was poor, and they represent nothing. In fact, they're negative, and the actual words and how it looked was beautiful. And so if you execute and your culture is on point, your message is on point, and you're consistent and you have integrity, you can make a big brand out of anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. That often happens when I always think about that when searching through the 300 URLs you were talking about earlier.
Yep.
You're like, no, this is the right one. I'm like, it ultimately doesn't matter. We've got to get people to go to that URL, whichever it is. We've got to build what it means and what's behind that. Now, when it comes to the being in the fitness industry, did you encounter any headwind? Anyone going, I mean, do we really need another fitness club? I mean, did that actually, were those words that you actually heard? And more importantly, if you did hear them, what did you do? Hey guys, thanks for listening as always, and I'm glad that you continue to support with each and every download and subscription and share. One of the things that I want to ask you, though, is where are you listening to me from right now? I know some of you, maybe you're on a treadmill, maybe you're washing dishes, maybe you're walking that dog, and some of you are actually in a vehicle driving right now. One of the fun things that you can do, get some of your time back, is begin to living a car-free existence. But even then, it can be a little complicated. So one of the things that I want you to do is I want you to go over to Zipcar. Go to joinzipcar.com/cashflow diary. It's a way that I am able to still go get a car just for a few hours, very, very simply, so that if I have a lot of errands to run and sheets to drop off and running to the short-term rentals, or if I just want to go for a long trip up to LA and back, etc., I can rent a car for a very, very short period of time. And the cool part is I don't even have to pay for any gas. Again, go to joinzipcar.com/cashflow diary.
You know what? I think, your story is different. It depends on who you're talking to, but like to the investor, I said, trust me. I have a hunch. This is 2012. Like there wasn't like all these sexy boxing fitness concepts. And I was like, trust me, the women are going to box, because you have to like point to that because it's just a larger number when you look at men, women and men. And trust me. Number two, but also trust me, I won't take a dime and I'll make, what essentially is minimum wage in Boston until you get all your money back plus 25%, And I actually was still investing company money into the company in the first 2 years. So like as a trainer, I probably grossed $150,000 just as a trainer, doing PT sessions, teaching classes or more. And I took a max of like, I think $48,000 per year the first 2 years. And so I threw that extra $100K back into the company just to get my investors back their money while sleeping on an air mattress for half part of the time. But I think I told them I would do that. So that was my pitch to them. To the member, I said, look, I'm going to have the same showers, same steam room. Everything is Equinox, which is in our market was the nicest brand. I'm going to have a juice bar, organic, fresh juice. I'm going to have physical therapy. In fact, my equipment, my treadmills, my weights, I don't have a gym where I can handle 5,000 members, but I can help handle 1,200. So my treadmills and everything, they're also good. I'll have enough for you. and it's going to be the nicest in the city. I bought like the most futuristic treadmills with like, 17-inch TV screens and all that stuff. So I had the best cardio, the best lockers, showers, all that. And then downstairs, I have this boxing gym. And, if you don't like it, at least you have the nicest stuff and we're convenient to you. And if you do like it, it's going to change your life. And I'll give you your money back if you don't like it. So that was my story to them. And then to the industry, and I also had a yoga studio when I opened. So a lot of people, I thought that was going to be, now it's more in trend. Back then it wasn't. But and then to the market, to the industry, I said, why not? But that I just kind of had to prove it. But yeah, I got a lot of pushback, a ton of pushback. I actually had to have community meetings. I had to get the city to approve me putting the gym in the space I put it in. It wasn't easy.
No, I that is one of the things that as primarily a real estate guy, I'm always dealing with politicians in some way, shape, or form, because the bigger my idea, the more they want to get involved. And that presents itself with its own challenge. Now, you're mentioning a number of, I guess, different ideas. I mean, first of all, I don't know that I've ever heard of a place where boxing and yoga happen at the same time under the same roof. So that's unique in and of itself. What are some of the other unique things that you guys have been able to do that I guess maybe now, because you've now established, hey, this works, you're probably beginning to see other people go, sample that idea for themselves?
What are other? Can you say that one more time? What are things that are working?
I'm curious to know, if you're willing to put yoga and boxing under the same roof, I'm curious to know what are some of the other things that you go, you know what, I think this will work, that probably haven't been done or been done the way that you guys do them. And because I think more people would be inspired to go and say, you know what, I'm going to try my unique thing too.
Yeah, I think when you sign good rent deals, right? Math again, right? Occupancy costs, lease terms, and all that, all of which I learned from my business partner. But when you sign good rent deals and you watch every penny, you can take chances, Like if you can find break even and you can find profit margin, you can take chances. So I think that has to always come first,
Mm-hmm.
If you want to experiment, right? If you want to experiment past what at a base level will work. Coming out of the gate, we had our initial class list we didn't have a boxing class really. We had a boxing S class, but we had Pilates, yoga, and I had cycling all in one room. And I had core classes, and I also had prenatal yoga, right?
Wow.
This is day one.
Wow.
Yeah. So then outside that room, I had a 12-station circuit, 5 people per station. We had rowers, bikes, jump rope, battle ropes, heavy bag, body uppercut bag, doubling bag. It's like a little peanut bag, speed bag. Then I had suspension training, kettlebell training, stability training, and I had turf. So no one had ever seen a 6-headed beast like that either, And yeah, and then at each station I had signs that tell you what to do at each station. I wrote it down. I wanted to do TV screens, but somebody actually shot me with a dart and said, lay down for 2 days and before you make us lose all our money.
Yeah.
And, but anyway, I put boards at each station telling you what to do. And that was called our workout of the week. And then I had a moderator in the center and you would just go see what the workout is. He'd explain it and you just pop in and do it anytime you want, with kind of very little coaching. Well, that didn't work. So I started running classes to teach the workout of the week. And I'd run one in the morning, one in the evening. Only time people have used that 3,000 square foot part of the gym. So then we just kept running those classes, and so then that was what we're known for. So it's this 2 rings, 60 to 80 people working out at one time. It's kind of cool actually. Then we had another room where I always said in my gym, no one's ever going to have to wait on a bag. So we had 50 bags in this room. It's 1,800 square feet, no programming, no nothing. And so my business partner was like, George, we're paying rent on this space.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. He's like, I don't know. What do you want? And I was like, that's not really boxing. Boxing is technique and this and shadow boxing. And he was like, no, we just got to do something. So he was like, yo, I'm going to teach this class. And he taught it the first one. It was like push-ups, sit-ups, and squats and throwing punches at the backs. He just made it up. And he was like, see? And I was like, all right, I'll teach it. And so I started teaching, hitting the classes where you just hit the bag and do exercises. And that went over like what would I say, like gangbusters? Like it was so popular.
You're
And
like,
so,
that's what you want? You like that?
yeah. There wasn't even a door in the classroom. Like there was only the yoga classroom had a door. Everything else was just like this big open space. And I was like, y'all like that? So put a little music up and get a little microphone, start writing workouts. And within a year, we won 18 months, I guess, best gym in Boston. And it was like one of those real publications that actually matter, you know? And I think it was like,
yes, not my mom didn't write that magazine. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I understand.
I didn't slip him $20.
Right.
But it was best luxury gym in Boston, by the way, up against Equinox.
Nice.
Barry's Boot Camp was there at the time. Soul Cycle wasn't there yet. So anyway, a lot of people don't understand that. And then I actually, because there was so much demand for those things, I weaved out yoga and Pilates a little bit to that, because I actually always wanted that, but I just didn't have enough space to handle the demand for boxing and circuit training. And I ended up just recently bringing it back and doubling down on that side of the business in my latest facility. So I think those are things that people would know that we invested heavily in the early days, and they're very much a part of who we are. Joseph Pilates was a boxer, creator. He was a boxer before he created Pilates, so I thought it was authentic.
I did not know that. I mean, I know a number of Pilates people being out here in California. I didn't know he was a boxer before. I did that. That's interesting. That's interesting.
If you actually look at the original Pilates workouts, he has videos, black and white. They're part. You see Pilates movements, and then they get up and they throw punches. It's all part of it. Authentic.
Awesome. Now you mentioned your latest facility. You guys, it sounds like you're still in an expansion, which gets me to asking, like, what's the ultimate plan here in terms of locations and or is there another, like, is there 2.0 version? What's going on in that?
I don't know, man. I think things are changing quickly. The way people consume are changing. I think there's this is my corniest line, but I mean it. Like, there's two parts. There's bottom line, profit, and there's bottom of your heart, right? Bottom line, it's distributing our content. We teach 140 classes a week per facility. And the reason I do that is so that I can make money, because I have to pay my investors back at some point, right? Mm-hmm. I have to make money, so we can actually make money at $12 a visit on average. Now in boutique fitness, we have 4 studios now under one roof. Usually there's one studio. They can't make money unless they're averaging like $20 to $25 a visit, sometimes $30 a visit in New York, which means they have to pass it on to the consumer. For us, we can make money at 12. If we're really busy, we can make money at 8, because I can handle 200 people per hour. So I think figuring out how do I play more into that and essentially slowly make fitness free is my goal. Now, that doesn't mean everybody deserves access to it if they're going to be a riffraff, no. But I think it needs to be free. And so I'll give you some numbers really quick. So this is bottom line, because I think it can be profitable, even though it's free to the consumer. So I have a facility that does $3 million in revenue, one of my facilities, and $1 million in profit. And we're probably paying, I can't tell you what we're paying in rent and all that, because I get in trouble. But the point is we charge our members $155 a month, right? Mm-hmm. So if I were to say, hey, let's charge $100 a month or $80 a month, like I said, I put millions of dollars into the facility, so I have to get that back, obviously. My point is, from a cash on cash standpoint, if I were able to find a way to say, hey, we're going to charge half that, right? That means essentially, just making quick numbers, I'd make half the amount of profit. So you make like $500,000, right? Then I'm doing it at like $60, $65, 70, or no, it's really like 75. So anyway, the point is, now I'm at 75 and I'm still profitable, right? So then I say, let me take it a step further. Let me do it for half of that, right? 35-ish, whatever. You know me in math. So now I'm still profitable, right? $40 million.
Yeah.
Not bad day. Okay. Now, what if I just wanted to break even, right? You start doing the math and say, okay, now I'm at break even, and maybe I have I have some rule where, you have to be spending, in order to get it for free, you have to like spend your money on groceries at Whole Foods or whatever. There's some rule. The point is to qualify people, right?
Mm-hmm.
The point is I know it can be free. And then I start saying, okay, well, Under Armour, Nike, Adidas,
Right.
like you guys make money when we motivate people to get in shape, because then they start buying new shoes, they
Right.
start buying athleisure wear, and so on and so forth. All these supplements and home meal delivery companies. Well, why don't you guys just sponsor our facility, right? And you start to create a narrative where, hey, instead of waiting till we get people to like the market, right? Because we're the ones motivating them to engage in health and fitness. How about you partner with us, right? And you'll be the first one they go to because you're in our facility. And I think my point is, I know there's some margin there to make this thing free for the consumer. And it really bugs me that I haven't stopped what I'm doing to figure that out. But it has to be craftily done to make sure the community's right, And I think this can be widespread across multiple communities. And then if you call it a nonprofit and just say, hey, we're not here for profit, even though we need to, cover the bills, and we get some support from the city, government, and sponsors, I just think fitness should be free at our level. Premium fitness should be free. So that's where I'm headed. And I guess that's where you start commingling the bottom line and the bottom heart.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot. I've always talked about doing well or you can do good and do well at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. However, the one thing that I was thinking about when you were talking is, are you familiar with the Jevons paradox, the economic concept Jevons paradox?
No, tell me about it, please.
Well, basically, what in general terms, what it simply means is that the more available or the more accessible a particular resource or something gets, the greater the demand. Meaning, I'll take a very easy one. Take cell phones, for example. At first, they were really, really expensive, but as it got cheaper, the demand for them grew. So yes, while on one hand, you may be cutting the price in terms of what it costs to the consumer, on the other hand, I think you'll have increased demand, and in fact, which can outweigh the decrease in price, so much so that you actually don't lose profit just because you cut it in half, because the number of customers will not stay static. Jevons paradox, Jevons paradox. So
Well, yeah, no, I love that. I'm gonna look it up. And part of my frustration is Planet Fitness is making money hand over fist, and they should. It's a good business model, but they perform based on the theory that people are going to pay for it and not show up. And if they all showed up, they go out of business, right? And so our question is, how do we give them premium experience and hope they show up, right? Which means I need to be able to process 200 to 300 people per hour efficiently, which we figured out. So now, anyway, I dig it, man.
Well, I think it's fun to, and you're stepping into the world that I get familiar with when you start talking about utilization, because I think that's what your business partner is talking about, because that's what I'm always looking at. Yeah. It's like, are we utilizing every piece of the square footage that we've got? And when it comes down to it, I think it becomes a utilization question in terms of getting really, really efficient on the exact floor plans and how much square footage you need to be able to achieve that, so that you can always make that go, and which can lend itself to some sort of on-demand use of a facility in some way, shape, or form. If something like that is possible, could probably give you that flexibility to make it happen. But I like what you're talking about, man. This is good stuff, and I'm impressed that you're thinking that way, because that's not normal for the everyday entrepreneur to always go, okay, yes, my product is profitable. This is great. Now, how can I make it free and better, and without sacrificing quality, and do all of these other things? Which gets me to the question. You said something, it should be free. Where did that come from? Why should it be free?
Yeah, I think there's this issue And it's hurting us physically, emotionally. It's hurting our budget as a country with healthcare. You see what's been happening in the news lately, with the violence. It's hurting our families. It's hurting our productivity in work. There's a loss to that productivity. It's hurting a lot. It's destroying families and it's overtaxing our jail system, our prison systems, which is all messed up, and it's overtaxed. And so on and so forth. And I think it all ties back to mental health, and the support there hasn't been, I don't know, man. Like we landed on the moon 45 years ago, 50 years ago, whenever it was. I think it's a situation that can be tackled, mental health, and also tackled in a way that acknowledges the different degrees of it. Like, just because I'm not in the hospital physically, if we use an analogy, right? I'm not on my deathbed, or I'm not, I don't have a terminal disease, or I don't have a broken limb. That doesn't mean my hormones aren't all out of whack. My blood pressure is in a bad place. I'm overstressed. That's poor health, and it's all affects your mental health. I have anxiety. I freeze when I'm supposed to, perform. All that is on the spectrum of mental health. And I think with better mental health, we have a better society as a whole, generally speaking, right? I think it's fair to say that. And if we were going to make anything free, I think something that has been proven scientifically to have a direct effect, positive effect on mental health, more sustainable, generally better than medication, because, if you get off it, you don't go wacko, I hate to make a generalization, but some of these medications, like, they help you, which is great. And some of us have to stay on them, but some of us take the medications at times where we just can't handle life for that moment. And then when we come off, it throws us off worse than we were before. Right.
Right.
And so I've experienced that with personal family members. And so, my point is knowing that fitness and movement and community and connectivity and sweating, just for the purpose of mental health, can have a dramatic effect on the budget. The budget of running this country, violence, prison systems, family, productivity in the office. Why not make it free? Are you kidding me? And it's fun.
Yeah, no.
It's within our reach.
I like it. Well, no one's been brave enough to actually put that idea out there, let alone come with, tangible proof, because, that's one of those things that matters. To making sure that the marketplace is willing to support it. And in your particular industry, there's such an upfront startup cost that's ginormous.
Oh my God.
So there's just
just saying that.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying you don't want to know. It's getting worse too. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. So that upfront hurdle makes it it's not exactly the place where people want to experiment, because it's like, look, we just we got to get our money back first. You can talk experiment later, and then by the time you get that far,
exactly right. Let's get that back real quick.
Yeah. That's a great idea, but get my money back, then we can talk. Yeah, and that's really what you're battling with. So you're doing something that I think is brave. We're definitely down to support. Now, for those that have listened this far and want to find out more what's going on over at Everybody Fights, what's going to be the best way for them to catch up with you guys and figure it out?
I'm on Instagram, George Foreman III, and then obviously for Everybody Fights, it's just everybodyfights.com, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Medium, I think they call it. We're on everything, so just check us out at Everybody Fights. And if you can't go to a gym, we'll be making our classes available on audio pretty soon.
Even better. Love it. Now, as we wind down, I got a final question for you, because I'm curious to hear your answer. As we've been talking today, there have been individuals who started this episode in one particular position. Maybe they've gotten to another. They're at what I like to call the precipice of decision. They've listened to your story, listened to how you have fought to make Everybody Fights, and they go, you know what? That's it. I'm drawing the line in the sand. Today's my day. I'm ready to step in the ring and make it happen. And like I know, that when we get to those decision points, oftentimes we have a companion, and that companion comes in the form of a voice. And it's a voice that reminds us why it didn't work last time, how it's not going to work this time. Who are you? You're going to do what? How are you going to, you're going to go to the gym? Yeah, right. I know what you're going to do. You're just going to sit at home. And for some people, they're related to that voice. So my question to you is as follows. Let's pretend that this time it's going to be different. This time they're actually going to do what you say. And they're going to do so in the next 24 to 48 hours. What would you suggest that they do?
To someone who's kind of at that juncture that I was with Everybody Fights? Is that the question? Yeah,
because there's a number of entrepreneurs that are listening that they're feeling like, okay, I need to do something. I need to make my thing happen. Or there's someone listening who's like, you know what? I do need to get back in the gym. But they got that voice sitting there right there on their shoulder in their head. So what do they do this time that's going to make it different?
There's no life without love, is what I would say. There's no life without love. And, you know, that can be obviously love, a significant other. Yeah, family. It's all about family at the end of the day, they say. But I think if you can't wake up in the morning and love what you do, just remember that you're choosing not to live. And it's going to show up one day. That choice not to live is going to show up in the form of, you know, some people get depressed. Some people make bad decisions. You know, get a cigarette or, you know, I don't know, but it's going to show up somewhere, you know? And, yeah, you know, eating, you know, people have different ways, but it's going to manifest itself somewhere. It's going to sprout when you're not living, right? I don't know why life is like that, when you're not loving what you do. And in knowing that, if you believe that, and I'm giving that anecdote and advice, and, you know, assuming you're going to rely on it, I would remember the stamina to love what you do, decide what you're going to do and love it. Be passionate about not the money, but what you actually do, and have the stamina to tweak. You know, maybe one year you're crushing it selling apples, right? And then one day nobody wants to like buy a fresh apple and bite into it, right? People don't even like going to grocery stores. So now you got to get it to the house. And then one day people are just not doing that. I don't know why. So you got to like have like powdered apple. Now you got to sell apple juice. Or now you got to be a distributor. Or now you got to be the person making the machines to support the people producing apples. I don't know. But, you know, you got to learn how to do math a little bit. Take an accounting class. Even if you fail, take it. My point is, if you love what you do and you believe in what you do and it being, you know, to make the world better and to really light you up, you'll figure out how to make it make money over time if you have the stamina to tweak the way you deliver it until you find the best way to make that a break-even business. But start with the love. Don't abandon the love. Don't love the money. Love the process. Love the journey. Love what you do.
Love it 100%. I definitely, as I said, appreciate everything that you're willing to stand for, whom you're willing to stand for, why you are standing, where you're standing, and you're putting your money, but more importantly, your time where your mouth has been, and you're inspiring others to do the exact same thing. I just want to be the first to say, you know, thanks for taking the time to share your knowledge, wisdom, and insight here with us today at the Cashflow Diary, sir.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. What does that mean? For some of you, it means get over to EverybodyFights.com. Others of you, you know it means to go get in the ring and start fighting. You've had that idea. Now it's time to bring it into reality. Make it something that someone else can see and participate in. You've thought about your customer enjoying your product or service, and today is the day for you to take an observable action, one more step in that direction. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun talking to you guys today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.